I am 22 years old and just got the news I am dying. I have failed at life and am now leaving behind a 3-year-old daughter. As the title says, last week I got the news that I am dying from lung cancer from my doctor. Turns out, smoking since I was 15 and then upping it to 3 packs each day a few years ago was a bad idea. Stupid, I know. I thought it wouldn't come so soon though. It's stage 4, and as of now, I have months to live. Please don't feel bad for me. I've done nothing good in life, except have my daughter to really be sad about losing me. I have no family because I grew up in the foster system and aged out at 18. My daughter's father is in prison for serious crimes that even if he got out, he wouldn't be allowed to be in her life. My daughter is only 3. We don't live in a good area, and when I go to work, I have to leave her with an elderly neighbor that always gets her name wrong every day. I don't want her to grow up like I did, in that foster care system. I feel like it's the only reason why I messed up and did nothing good with my life. Yeah, I know it's not the only reason, and my own stupidity caused most of my issues, but if I just had some family or a support system to keep me in check, it could have been better. I just want to give her some chance to have a better shot than I did. The thing is, I do have an idea for who could take care of her. One of my closest friends is a coworker at my job, and she's amazing. While I am at the bottom of my job, like if they needed to lay off people, I would definitely be the first to go. She is their prized worker and makes serious bank, however. She has a good husband and a kid. I want to ask her if she would be okay with adopting my little girl once I'm gone, but I know it won't go well. The thing is, my coworkers and her family are black, and me and my daughter are white. Like we both have blue eyes and can't tan white. There is no way I can ask my friend to adopt my daughter and force her to deal with those kind of issues an adoption like that will bring to her family. But then that just leaves my little girl to grow up like I did, in a terrible system with only a will of about $1,000 to help her and a necklace my mother had that I'm going to give her. I don't know if I should bite the bullet and ask my close friend if she is willing to take my daughter, or just suck it up and try to work as hard as I can to get as much money into my will for my girl. But either way, I have failed as a mother. And that is a regret I'm literally taking to my grave. Edit. Okay, I reached out to her and we were able to set up a place to meet. It's some simple cheap bakery you can eat inside. I'm going to ask her if she can adopt my daughter. That way, if she says no, I can have more time to go to an adoption agency near us. Thank you for the support, everyone. Geez, what can I say here? It seems like she's doing the only thing she can do. She can't pull herself out of her rut and fix the lung cancer. All she can do is work and give her daughter something, right? It's like in those movies where someone knows they're dying, so they kind of have clarity, I suppose. It's like this, so let's see what happens next. Update. All right, I'm back now. A day after my post, I was able to meet up with my friend/coworker. And after telling her about my diagnosis, which is something I haven't told anyone at work, I asked her if she was willing to adopt my little girl. She was shocked and tried to comfort me about my upcoming death, but she told me she couldn't give me her answer right then and there. Turns out she does want a daughter, but something happened in her second pregnancy and caused her issues that I don't feel right about sharing. So she does want to consider adopting, but first needed to talk to her husband and talk about planning if he agrees. I understood, since it was a big change in their family. I said okay, and after we ate, she gave me a hug and told me she will miss me. This is embarrassing, but I actually started crying. I also started making the emails. User Bundy's playbook gave me this idea and I thought it was amazing. So I created an email for my daughter and started pre-recording videos for stuff. It's nowhere near ready, but I already have some ideas and recorded some videos for her birthdays and some big life events like first crushes and prom and first job. Sad to say it, but I realized planning most of these videos that the general message will be, don't do what I did. My friend reached out to me a few days ago and said that after having a long talk with her husband, they both are considering it. Apparently, they do this thing where after talking about a huge change in their lives, they'll come to something to agree on and then wait for a while. And if they're still on the same page, then it sounds like a good idea. She did tell me that it wasn't a yes though. There are some issues they want to fix first. She said that while they both really liked the idea, they barely know anything about my little girl. Her husband and 6-year-old son haven't even seen her. And while she has seen and heard about her, it's been from me. So she told me about a plan they came up with. For the rest of this month, I'm going to have to get up 2 hours earlier than normal to drop off my daughter at their house so her husband can watch over her as he works at home. Then I'll go to work with my coworker. This way, her husband and son can get to know her. She also said she wants to celebrate Christmas with them, so that's something to look forward to in the future. I've already done it yesterday, and when I went to go pick up my little girl, she was the happiest I've ever seen her in a long time. My friend's husband said they went off on the wrong foot in the start. He said she was really scared sometimes and didn't want to play with their son yet. But since it was their first day, he thinks she'll get better. Then we did it again today, and he said she mostly watched their son play, but it was already better than yesterday. So that's what's happening right now. I'm scared this will be for nothing, but at the very least now, my daughter is getting better at their house for now. So even if they say no in the end, she already has some better memories than she was with me. Happy ending for the daughter, I suppose, right? The wife can only do what's best in the daughter's interest. She said this, she knows this, so hopefully everything works out for the daughter and the new family. Anyway, next story. Story number 2. I ghosted my family and fiance after what my sister did. I need a little advice on the matter as I don't know what to do anymore. I was 21 when my fiance asked me to marry him. He was the absolute light of my life. We had known each other since preschool. Our families are very close. He would come and have dinner with us on a daily basis and vice versa. He doesn't have any siblings, but I have 2 older sisters, which is very important as he was always very close with them. We grew up together. When we started dating, I don't think our parents stopped celebrating for weeks. He helped me deal with a lot of anxiety, and even when I gained a little weight and my mother berated me, saying he was going to leave me, he told her off and said he loved me for who I was, not for what I looked like, even though he claimed I was the most beautiful girl in the world to him. We were only engaged for 6 months before the incident. My middle oldest sister, let's call her Nikki, was a very cold person. She never showed any affection. She only ever opened up to my fiance as she said she saw him as a brother, and he also helped her through a lot of her dark times, such as battling drug addictions and breaking the law. She and I have never seen eye to eye. I loved her dearly because she was my sister, but didn't like her as a person. Out of the blue, she tells me she wants to take me clubbing, as we had never been together before, and she felt bad that she was so distant to me. I agreed, and that night we went out. Clubbing wasn't really my style, but once I had a few drinks, I loosened up a little and began having fun. The night was going smoothly until Nikki spotted a guy from across the room whom she claimed she wanted to climb like a tree. She walked over to him, and within a few minutes, she was back and she had a sour expression on her face. I asked her what was up, but she never said anything. I kept pressuring her because I didn't want our night to be ruined. She told me the guy didn't want her number, but he wanted mine instead. I told her that guy was a loser and there were plenty of guys around who would kill to be with a girl like her. She didn't budge though. She told me she needed to use the restroom and then we would leave. I waited for another hour. During this time, I was sipping on a lot of different cocktails. Then I started feeling really dizzy and lightheaded. I figured I'd just cab it home as I was certain Nikki had left. On the way out though, I bumped into a friend of Nikki's whom she had briefly dated. He asked me if I needed a hand to my car and I explained I was getting a cab. He said he was getting ready to leave and we could share one. I told him okay and we walked out of the club together and into the first cab we saw. I tried to find my phone in my purse, but I felt myself getting dizzier and dizzier. I don't remember what happened next as I blacked out, and the next morning I woke up on a hard sofa, my head pounding. When I came to, I realized I was in Nikki's friend's house, and my phone was sitting on the glass table in front of me, but it was flat. When he noticed I was awake, he offered some tablets and water and explained that I had passed out in the cab and he didn't remember my parents' address, so he just picked me up and took me back here where he laid me on the sofa. I told him I needed to go home as my fiance would be worried. He called a cab and I left. When I arrived at my parents' house, my mother, father, Nikki, my fiance, and his parents were all standing in the living room. I thought they were worried about me, but the instant I opened my mouth, my fiance asked me how could I do this to him. I tried to explain that my phone went flat, but then he went on screaming about how could I cheat on him. I was baffled. Why would he think that? I tried to explain the night's events, but I kept getting cut off. Nikki then chimed in and said I was a liar and said how could I be so heartless to a man who has been there for me through thick and thin. She went on to say I kept flirting with random guys all night, and then she went to the bathroom. She saw me leave with her friend. I told her what had happened and she showed me photos on her phone where as we were leaving, his hand was on my back, ushering me outside. Yes, the photo did look horrible and I was so drunk. I didn't even realize his hand was on my back at all. My fiance was so angry. He kept shouting, and his mom and mine were both crying. I then asked Nikki to call her friend, and he would confirm nothing happened. But when she called him, he told a completely different story. He said I begged him to take me back to his place, and when he did, we slept together multiple times. I saw red and started crying and yelling at Nikki because I knew she had organized this whole thing to make me look bad. I begged my fiance to believe me, but he just shook his head and left. When everyone had cleared out, my mother slapped me across the face and told me to get out. I left and went to a friend's house where I stayed for a few nights. During those nights, I called my fiance crying and pleading with him to believe me that nothing happened, but it all fell on deaf ears as he has never returned any of my calls or texts since. My mom texted me and told me she was kicking me out and that she couldn't believe I would do such a thing, and a lot of other hurtful slurs I don't even think I could repeat here. She didn't even give me time to get my things as she threw everything out. I was now homeless. None of my family would take me in as they chose my fiance and my mother's side. I was homeless and single in less than a day and a half. My entire world had been taken away because of Nikki's lies. Now, for weeks, I tried everything to get my fiance back and my family. The limit for me, though, was when Christmas time came around and I went over to my mother's house to try and reconcile. I was sleeping from couch to couch during this time. When I got to my parents' house, I knocked on the door, but no one answered. My friend then called me and told me she just saw on Facebook that my family were in another state celebrating Christmas, and they had posted pictures online. Everyone was there, my sisters, parents, grandparents, and even my fiance and his family. When I finally saw the photos, I couldn't stop crying as they all looked so happy. I cried for days and days before deciding to block them all. I even returned my engagement ring. My friend knew someone a couple hours away who was looking for some help in his restaurant, and he even had living arrangements above where he worked, so I could get rent at a cheap price and work at the same time. I wanted to start over with my life, as it hurt me that no one took my side, and they all left me to fend for myself. I was able to move pretty quickly and was doing well. The apartment was tiny and I had to work 10+ hours almost every day, but I was able to save a lot of money. I'm not living in the apartment anymore. I was able to rent a much nicer condo, but I am still working at the restaurant as an assistant manager. Now, it has been roughly 2 years since I left and have not spoken to any of my family. I have no idea what is going on with them until I get a knock on my door. It was my ex-fiance. I was shocked, to say the least. All these feelings came rushing back, and all I wanted to do was jump into his arms. But then I remembered the pain I had felt and tried to slam the door in his face, but he stopped it and asked that I let him explain. He said that Nikki had gotten married, and she had confessed that she lied about the situation before she had found someone she loved so much and realized what a horrible thing she had done. I asked him how he found me, and he said my friend told him. My entire family had been trying to get in touch with me, and they wanted to see me. I told him I needed to see if I even wanted to have them in my life. He left, and I have been a mess ever since. I don't know what to do. I know I will never, ever forgive Nikki. She could rot for all I care. But it's hard because my other family and fiance didn't know she was lying. But I also felt like they abandoned me too quickly without letting me explain my side. I don't know if I should forgive them. Any advice would be so much helpful. Thank you for taking the time to read this. Is this one real? So I've read a few stories like that where the family is lied to or told something and they're like, hey, I don't want to talk to you again, get out. So I've seen this format before, but I don't know, something feels off about this. But let's say it is real. If it is, and this is a true story, then I think we all need to agree that Nikki is the worst person ever and should be launched out of a cannon into the sun and disintegrated immediately, and then resurrected and shot out of the cannon again. Nikki sucks. Anyway, next story. Story number 3. My best friend's child is transitioning, and I'm trying to be happy, but I'm just sad. I've known this child since they were a wee tot. Our families have been friends for decades now. Kids would hang out together while the adults went out to dinner and shows. We had vacations, birthdays, holidays together. This child and I are both big readers, and we have enjoyed sharing and discussing books over the years. And I felt like we were actually friends, as well as related to each other's friends. And I'm not surprised at the transition, to be honest, and I know this child is happy and delighted. Their extended family is loving and accepting. There is a big piece of me that really is happy for them, and for no good reason, a piece of me that is just sad. I don't know why. I'm not losing anyone. I have nothing invested in their gender whatsoever, and I love them just the same. And I am happy if they are more comfortable in their body and with themselves now. I don't know why I'm sad. I just am. I had to get this off my chest. Thanks, Reddit, for listening. Edit. This person is in their late 20s, not a minor. I just referred to them as a child because that's how I know them, and they are the same age as my kids, who are also adults in their 20s. Thank you. You are all so kind. I feel like being sad is kind of wrong somehow, but I agree that I can't judge my feelings, and obviously, I'm going to process them myself, and not with them or their family. I am nothing but supportive and loving to them, and I am supportive and happy for them. Only sad for myself, I guess. You know what someone told me one time? I was like, man, I'm sad. And you know what he said? He looked at me right in the eye and he said, if you're sad, stop being sad. And I looked at him right in the eyes and I was like, wow. That is terrible advice. You suck. Anyway, next story. Story number 4. A meeting with my daughter's teachers and principals surprised me. I am a single dad to my daughter. This is my M35 daughter's F11 first year of middle school. Like a lot of kids, my daughter never really says much about school except that it was good. She's a very sweet and kind girl. So I was honestly surprised when I got a call from the principal asking if I could meet with her and a few of my daughter's teachers. Well, I got to the meeting and was kind of nervous. When the principal said, I don't know how you've been raising your daughter, but you're doing something right, I was surprised. I asked what they were talking about. That's when the teachers explained to me, since the beginning of the school year, my daughter has made it a point to befriend the quiet kids in her classes, some have learning disabilities, and make it a point to talk to them and compliment them. And if any kids pick on them, she's the first to put a stop to it. The teachers have said it has made a difference in those quiet kids' lives. Most of them are more talkative in these classes. They told me they figured I wasn't aware of how well liked and adored my daughter was around school and just how proud I should be of my daughter. I always figured she had a lot of friends just by seeing her walk to my car after school and seeing quite a few kids talking to her and saying bye and stuff like that. But I had no idea my daughter was making an impact on other kids' lives by just befriending them. I have not told my daughter about the meeting I had, but I plan on this weekend letting her know and of course awarding her a bit. I am for sure one proud dad. Dang, where was this kind of girl when I was growing up? I needed some compliments when I was younger. I need some compliments as an adult. Oh my god, this girl is great. She is awesome and I hope she grows up to be an amazing person and she deserves all the ice cream she wants. Okay, I'm done, bye.